Back with us now, Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich. Okay, it's good to see you again, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Liz.
Now we've got this. New York City Mayor Eric Adams, he's now joining the mayor of Washington, D.C. He's saying to the government, give us help. Thousands of illegal immigrants are showing up from Biden's border collapse. What do you say to the mayor here and the D.C. mayor as well?
Well, thank you for finally recognizing that every state is a border state. And secondly, what they should be doing, or what they should be asking Joe Biden to do, is to actually enforce existing law and to secure our border. Because if the border was secure, then we wouldn't have to worry about hundreds of thousands, millions of migrants coming into our cities and overwhelming social services and the flood of fentanyl coming up from the southern border as a result of the cartels seizing control of the southern border. So you and I have talked about this, Liz. I shouldn't have to be. As the Attorney General, I have filed so many lawsuits. We successfully stopped Joe Biden from rescinding Title 42, the Remain in Mexico policy we argued, forcing him to build the wall, trying to deny the federal government from giving benefits to non-citizens. It goes on and on, but we as states shouldn't be having to do this, and the cities shouldn't be having to pay the cost for the failed policies of the Biden administration.
Yeah, to your point, the governor of Arizona, Doug Ducey, he tweeted out, quote, it's convenient these liberal mayors are finally speaking up on this humanitarian crisis, but it's already been affecting their communities for years. He's saying Arizona, by the way, is not busing illegal immigrants to New York City, but fentanyl and drugs have been pouring in. But take this on. D.C.'s representative to Congress, Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton, she's saying emergency legislation will reimburse D.C. for handling the influx. So that's taxpayer money going for that. But she blames Texas and Arizona for the surge.
Well, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but not their own facts. And this is what frustrates me so much. I'm a first-generation American. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the rule of law. And the federal government is at its apex of power when it comes to enforcing our border. So the left, this is a classic leftist, dilemma where they create a problem, they create a crisis, and then they beg the federal government to spend our taxpayer money in order to solve the crisis. And then they don't solve the crisis, and they just compound it and it gets worse and worse and worse. So this is the classic example of there is a man-made disaster right now facing this country, the worst kind of tsunami you can imagine, and it has nothing to do with, global warming or anything else. It has everything to do with the leftist policies of the Biden administration. So they have created this problem, and now we as taxpayers, shouldn't have to bail out D.C. or New York City. What we should be doing, though, is making sure the federal government enforces existing law and spends those resources on securing our border. And you and I haven't even started talking about the fact that nearly 60 people on the terror watch list have been apprehended so far this fiscal year. My goodness, that's almost 3 times as many people that killed Americans on 9/11. So this isn't just about the cost in dollars and treasury. It is about the cost in human lives and the toll that's going to have on this country as a result of the failed policies of the Biden administration.
That's 60 terrorists caught at the southern border, right?
I think it was 58, but it's very close to 60.
But here's the number. The number. Wait, sorry, forgive me. It's 192 at all ports of entry and the U.S. southern border. That's already outpacing last year's fiscal year. I think it's 157 last fiscal year, right? I mean, we're just a generation away from 9/11, and all of a sudden everybody's okay with this, right? But I want to get to this. Take that on. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say is that look. More than 3 million people have illegally entered our country since Joe Biden became president. We know that's like the entire population of Kansas. But there's hundreds of thousands of gotaways. These are people that are trying to avoid detection. And I ask you, if you can come into this country and Joe Biden's giving you a hotel room and an airline ticket and asylum, why would you be sneaking across the desert when it's 120 degrees outside, risking your life for 20 days on foot, unless you're here to do us harm? And so we should be worried about it, not only about the record amount of fentanyl and all the drugs coming into our country. Once again, just so far this year, enough potential fentanyl to kill the entire country. but these folks on the terror watch list and these gang members, the MS-13 members that are coming in the dark of night.
I mean, Congressman John Katko was with us. He's saying, the Homeland Security Secretary is saying to Congress, you've got to get waivers from these non-citizens accused of criminal activities and terrorism before we release information to you. There was a terror threat against former President George W. Bush, and also there was a plot foiled to shoot up a fireworks gathering in Richmond, Virginia. But now you have to sign waivers to get information.
Well, we know the height of hypocrisy with the left and the Biden administration is at our southern border. And as you know, the Biden administration is suing me, so I'm back in federal court again because they don't want us to enforce a law that says you have to show proof of citizenship to vote in a presidential election or to be on an early voting list. So the Biden administration is letting millions of people into this country illegally, but they don't want Arizona to check for citizenship. So you can draw your own conclusions. And once again, the height of hypocrisy, you have someone like Novak Djokovic, the #1 tennis player in the world, that wants to come into New York and play a sport, obey by all the COVID protocols. He can't come into this country, and yet people are crossing our southern border in record numbers that have no proof of vaccine and literally are given hotel rooms. And the most serious question they get is whether they want a room with 2 double beds or a king bed.
That's interesting. But, you know, there's also this. There's a war of words breaking out between the White House and border state. The White House press secretary says, quote, it's shameful that some governors are using illegal immigrants as a, quote, political tool. Let's watch the D.C. Mayor Bowser on this. Watch.
But I fear that they're being tricked into nationwide bus trips when their final destinations are places all over the United States of America.
Are they being tricked into getting on buses out of Arizona and Texas to go to D.C.?
I have no idea what Homeland Security is or isn't telling them, but I do know this, is that the Biden administration has incentivized and decriminalized people coming here, and they are the ones that are putting up in hotel rooms. They're the ones that are providing them access to transportation hubs and to buses. And, you know, if a state like Arizona wants to give someone a one-way bus ticket to New York or Delaware, or Governor Abbott in Texas wants to send him somewhere, why not? Why should we have to pay the cost, not only in money, in dollars, but in lives lost? And, you know, just shame on the Biden administration. I mean, we sit here, we talk about no-fly zones all over the world, and we debate this. We need to have a no-lie zone in Washington, D.C. when it comes to stuff that's coming out of the mouths of these mayors and these spokespeople.
Okay, that was a pretty funny quip.
Yeah.
So here's the other thing. Has the mayor of New York or the mayor of D.C. called you guys?
My goodness, we can't get the Homeland Security czar to like come here and visit us and talk about this, and law enforcement officials in Arizona. We can't get Kamala Harris, who supposedly is responsible for the southern border, to come and have a conference or meeting with law enforcement officials or AGs in states like Arizona or Texas. So there's no chance that some liberal mayor in New York City or Washington, D.C. is going to come out here unless maybe they've got like a free golf trip or something planned. But they're not. There's so much hypocrisy on the left.
Are you guys
it's on full display.
Are you behind the scenes sort of giving props up, high fives, saying that your policy of shipping illegal immigrants out of the state to D.C., that it's working, that it's drawing attention? Are you happy with that?
I am finally happy that other folks are starting to recognize what we've talked about. You and I have even talked about this, that every state is a border state now. And whether it's the flow of fentanyl into our country, methamphetamine coming in, cocaine coming in, the cartel seizing control, or the actual people, by whatever metric you want to measure, every state is now a border state.
Got it.
So it does bring me some satisfaction knowing that the liberal mayors of places like New York,